Hello, I'm Tyson Dahlem. I'm a criminal defense lawyer. The information in this video does not create a lawyer-client relationship. You should always consult a lawyer about your specific situation, as the law can change significantly from place to place and from time to time. Sexual assault is a crime that is being prosecuted more and more. Many, if not most, sexual assault prosecutions turn on the question of whether one person consented to the sexual activity in question. Sexual assault is defined in the Criminal Code of Canada as contact with a person without their consent, and that contact must be for a sexual purpose. This definition covers activity from unwanted gropes or kisses to what used to be referred to in law as rape. Sexual activity is only legal when both or all persons involved consent. Consent is defined in Section 273.1, Sub 1, as the voluntary agreement to engage in the sexual activity in question. Legal sexual touching requires that the person positively and affirmatively communicate consent by words or by action. Silence is not consent. No reaction is not consent. Simply put, a person says yes, and they must say yes for that to be consent. If a person nods their heads, that's consent. No response is not consent, under any circumstances. The Criminal Code also provides examples of when there is no consent. These are: 1. Anything a person says or does that shows that they are not consenting. 2. Anything a person shows or does that they are not agreeing to continue with an activity that has already started. A person who has previously consented to sexual activity can change their mind at any time. 3. The person is incapable of consenting to the sexual activity for some reason. The common one is because the person is unconscious. Unconscious people are not capable of consenting to sexual activity. Consent ends when a person falls unconscious, even if that consent was previously given. 4. The consent is the result of a person abusing a position of trust, power, or authority over the person consenting. For example, if a teacher is in a sexual relationship with a student, that student probably cannot legally consent. 5. No person can give consent on behalf of another person. 6. Many people cannot legally consent to sexual activity because of their age. These rules are somewhat complex and won't be explained in this video. It's easy to see how the question of consent can be very tricky, especially when the people involved are intoxicated. It is usually not a defense to a charge of sexual assault to say, "I thought she had consented," or "I thought he had consented." This defense is called honest but mistaken belief in consent. It is usually a recipe for going to jail. It cannot be used when 1. The belief was held by a person who was intoxicated and results from that intoxication. 2. The belief is held by a person who was reckless whether the other person was consenting. Or 3. The belief is held by a person who is willfully blind, in other words, ignoring things that show a lack of consent. And 4. The belief is held by a person who didn't take proper steps to determine if there was consent. This usually refers to circumstances where a person does not take proper steps to determine if the person is of age. So what does this all mean to the everyday person? It's simple. Ask the other person if they are consenting. It may not seem romantic. It may not seem sexy, but it will keep you out of jail. Don't have sexual contact with extremely drunk people. Don't have sexual contact with unconscious people. Don't have sexual contact with people who might be underage. If you have started sexual contact with a person and that person changes their mind and says no, you must stop the sexual contact. Sexual assault is an extremely serious charge to be prosecuted for. Conviction for sexual assault usually results in incarceration. A conviction for sexual assault can be completely avoided by simply making sure that the other person is consenting to the sexual activity. For any additional information, please don't hesitate to contact me at Dahlem Criminal Defence.